Or yeah. Okay, so we are being recorded. Um, Let me tell you real quick. If I act a little loopy tonight, I want you to know I've got some pretty serious back issues, and I'm on a mix of drugs, and my back's better, but I don't know how everything else is. So bear with me if I say some strange things. Okay, first thing tonight, I want to welcome two new members. Rita Melizano. I didn't see her online, but she has been invited. And Bill Bromberry. And when I saw Bill's application for the club come in, I said, geez, I know this guy, I know this guy. And I called him personally to welcome him. And sure enough, I think about 12 years ago, he was in the Quad City Club and he had asked me some advice on a camera. And I really helped get him started in photography. And like so many of us, it's taken over him as a passion. And he's really got some nice equipment and works at it hard. So some of you might, when we get to see Bill, you might even recognize him. Good news, as of right now today, we're back in business at the library, and complete information will be sent out on that shortly.
You're
But
so funny.
you don't have to write this down. September 9th, October 14th, and November 18th, we have meetings scheduled there. And the same hours, we have to be out there at 8:15. The only thing different as officers we have to look at, we were able to block out 6 months in advance, and now we can only block out 3. As far as COVID restrictions go, I asked them that, and they said none right now, but I'm sure you watch the news, and it seems to be a bit of a moving target. So we'll just have to let you know when we get closer. But right now, that's the story. I want to, so we'll all be getting together and seeing people again. Because really, as I look at the club and think about the club, with 75 members, tonight we have 23 online, and which usually will probably come out to about 30 maybe. And out of 75, we've missed a lot of people for a long time for various reasons. So it's going to be great to get back together. I want to talk to you a minute about the August 14th picnic. You do not have to take any notes on this because a complete letter is coming out within another day or two. For all of you that haven't been there, it's going to be the Ikes in Geneseo, and that's a great location. We've got outdoor grills. We've got a meeting room that's air conditioned in case it's 100 degrees out. We can put programs in there. We can eat indoors. We can eat outdoors. We've got ground we can walk around with, and it just works out real well. And maps, and for the people that don't know anything about their maps and everything, will go out on that. And the exact hours right now, tentatively, I'm thinking 11 o'clock start, and then you can leave when you want to leave. We're going to have some photography related programs lined up for you that day, and just really a good get together and get to meet people again. And it's going to be for anybody that's a member and their significant other. We're asking that no children, please. This year, in previous years, we've always had pork chops and chicken. This year, we're going to go to high-end hamburgers and high-end hot dogs. Okay, and the club is going to supply that. We'll supply the buns, the condiments, and water. If people want to grill something else, they don't want hamburgers, hot dogs, a grill space will be available. Judy, my wife, will be heading up coordinating a dish to pass. And that'll either be a
And
main
dessert.
dish or a dessert. And we will work, we'll do everything we can to work with anybody that has a special diet. And all that information will be going out shortly. I know we're getting pretty close and we're a little late, but a lot of us have been out of town. But once we know that, we'll coordinate all that with you. And you'll have to bring your own tableware and that stuff. But don't worry, we'll get more out on that. Okay, tonight's meeting, okay, we kind of changed our meeting a little and our format a little. And tonight we'll have two sections to it, and one will be strictly sharing. There'll be no commenting on images or anything. We'll just be sharing nice images between all of us. The other thing that's going to happen tonight that is we've never done before, and this is the first time we've never done what I call before and after. And that's an image is submitted and then an edit is submitted. And nobody will be commenting on these edits, okay? Unless the person that wants to explain what he did, what he saw in the image, what he thought he could improve on, what he did to the image. If that person asks for comments, then we will give some comments on that. And what I say by we, it's open to any of the members to comment on that. And I'll go over there once again before we get started in there. And then in the latter part of the meeting, this has worked real well. The last two times is open discussion. You can talk about anything you want to talk, hopefully photography related. And then we will hopefully be able to answer your questions or learn something from you. So anyway, let's get going with sharing here. If everybody would please mute their mics tonight. Of course, when we get to the other part where you can talk, you can either press the space bar or unmute. But anyway, here we go. Here, let's see what's going on here. Okay, what's everybody looking at? Some pictures here?
Audrey Miller and yeah, people's members picture.
Are you looking at a picture now?
No, that's your screen, I think.
Picture of bears by the falls.
No.
Yeah.
Hold on. Hold on. Let me go back here.
Fireworks.
Fireworks here.
We're seeing fireworks now?
Yeah.
Yes. Picture of them.
Right now.
No.
Now it's the bears in the stream.
Okay, I'm gonna stop share. And I'm gonna start all over again. Going to share screen. And I'm going to share. Okay, what do you see now?
Says
Circa
Zoom.
40 minutes.
A
Start
Zoom,
page for Zoom.
Holy cripe. Like I've done this 100 times. Let me close this here. Wow.
It says we're viewing David's screen up above.
I noticed that too.
Okay, let me try a different screen here.
You are sharing your screen because we're seeing your mouse move around.
Okay,
Oh, see, they're seeing you do it.
what are you seeing now?
Your mouse on an X. There. That's all your
It's in your
icons.
desktop.
That's your desktop.
It's a desktop with like a space galaxy on it.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm looking at something very weird. I'm looking at somebody else's desktop.
It's
Okay,
David.
It's somebody named David.
Is somebody else sharing a screen? They shouldn't be do that. Let me go to screen sharing and change it to only me. Okay, now I've changed it to only me. Let me go back to screen share. Okay, let me hit share. Okay, what are you looking at now?
Fireworks.
Fireworks.
A picture of some fireworks from Lori Lillquist,
Yep.
correct?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, that was weird. Somebody was doing a screen share and that was creating an issue. But anyway, okay, this is our first image.
Oh, Jack is not.
I guess I could say names as we went through this, from Jack Dinger.
Ooh.
Diazio,
Canadian Pacific is.
Lori Lillquist, and I'll have to put this in. It's my favorite railroad.
She ought to enter that in the contest.
Ron Browning,
Yeah, that was underneath the bridge back there, there by the iWireless.
okay. And Audrey Mueller,
That's pretty. Oh,
and Dale.
is that the one that's over there?
I'm waiting for those towers to come down.
Ooh,
And Jack Dinger.
oh, that's a little bird.
And Audrey. And Joe Macheco.
I love the way the flags do. Well, I can say I like them.
And Joe Macheco. And I know what this is. This is Audrey's picture with Joe Macheco.
Yeah, Joe took me to Vanderveer Park and did a little mentoring with me, and this was my thank you, Joe. You did a good
Thank you,
job,
Joe.
and I appreciate it.
Image, okay,
Ah, that's sweet.
yeah.
You
Okay.
didn't know I took that, did you?
Didn't know you took that.
Yeah. And that's one of our warm mornings from Dale. Okay, well, hey, thank you for sharing. You betcha, a lot of nice images there. And let's move over to before and after. This is going to be very interesting tonight, I'll tell you, because I've had some time to look at these images. And let me get back here. I've had some time to look at these images. And before we get started on this, I'm going to say this. You know, if you shoot an image, just like in the film days, if you shot film, if you shot slide film, you had to have it there. It had to be done. There's very little you can change. And if you shoot any, if you're a member of our club, you shoot an image, you like it out of the camera, That is all that matters. There's nothing else that matters. It's all up to you. But digital photography has changed this considerably because now we can shoot an image and get creative with it, change it, enhance it, do everything else. And that's why I've often said editing and digital photography go hand in hand. And tonight you're going to see some real reasons why that's so meaningful. Now, once again, when I show your image, I show before, I show after. I'll first ask you if you want to make a comment, and your comment will be, this is where I was, this is what I took, and this is, and then this will be my edit. I don't particularly want to know that I increased the white points or I did my black points, but more about what your thinking is of what you ended up with. So if you want to say something, fine. If you don't want to say anything, just say no comment and we'll go. But you're going to find this very interesting. Here we go. Okay, Audrey, any comment, or do you want us just to move on?
Well, this was San Gabriel River and in Texas, and I took it pretty much in broad daylight. So
Okay. And this is your edit.
I didn't have a filter, so that's why I kind of tried to bring things out.
Okay.
Side by side.
Okay. Fine. Like I say, tonight isn't a situation where we're gonna critique, but obviously we're gonna enjoy what you're presenting here. Okay, let me tell you this story. This image, I couldn't even see with my naked eye what was going on here. This was shot at 800 millimeters. We were in Alaska at Brooks Falls, known for when the bears come to fish. And I saw this happening through the lens, through the camera, because at 800 millimeter, you can see pretty darn good. Okay, but I got this picture in, I looked at it, this is straight out of the camera. It didn't tell the story I wanted well enough. It was too far away. And so it really, to me, needed this edit. What I shot and what I like. Now it really tells the story that the mama bear went in, caught a salmon, and came in, and the kids are too young to fish and we're feeding them. This would have been impossible without digital photography. Okay, next image. This is from Lori. Lori, do you want to say anything about this?
Sure, absolutely. I'd love to. This is my grandson, Cooper. He plays for Assumption Knights baseball. He's 13 years old, 6'2", tall boy. We were not allowed inside the fence. So if you can see the built-in vignette, if you will, around the side there, it's actually the fence line. So I positioned my camera in the hole.
Okay.
I liked this photo because it showed his expression and the ball in view in the air. So that's the before. And then now I zoomed in, of course, with digital and Lightroom. And if you look close enough, you can see his expression and the ball in the air is clear. And so, yeah, I liked this photo, and the editing helped this photo see what I could see.
Yep. Another great example. Well, from looking at this image, I don't see a name on it, but I know who this is. This is Tina. Tina,
Yes. It's the fountain at, well, one of the fountains at Vanderveer. I took it when we went out there. It's the one by the conservatory. And I was just trying to get the water going over the lip there. And so that's what I did. And then I was just trying to get the singular arc. And a lot of what I just do with a lot of the water shots is I try and find the colors in them and bring those out and
wow.
crop it. So that's what it's focusing on.
So there is a good example of building real creativity into what you enjoy in an image. I think I may have this backwards. Excuse me if I do. No, I didn't. I'm sorry.
Nope, you're good.
Okay, Dale, I'm sorry about that. Go ahead.
That's all right. Yeah, so some of you may know I like taking fireworks photos a lot. And I think fireworks photos are definitely really work well with processing, just because a lot of times your scenes are so dark. So I actually put in 2 photographs tonight. And this one's the first fireworks one. And this one, you can see the scene is much lighter. It's taken at the Rock Island County Fairgrounds. So it was just a little easier to process and get more to come out of it then. But you have such a dynamic range that being able to bring up those dark areas, in Lightroom really make a big difference with digital. So you can just see the difference that it makes with that. So I thought that was cool with the people moving in this one with the longer shutter speeds.
Great example. Great example. Okay, here's an old friend of mine. First photographed this particular bear in 2019. Because I'm on a little drugs, I forgot his name.
Otis,
What is it?
Otis,
What?
or Walker.
Walker. This is Walker. Once again, this was shot, I think, at 800 millimeter. He was on the other side and he just got himself a nice salmon. Yes, I captured my old friend Walker. I didn't particularly like all the white in front of him, and he was a little out of focus and he needed some work. So this is what we came up with. Walker before and Walker after. And once again, this is just another example of why editing and digital photography work so well together. Okay, Audrey, here's another one you put in.
Okay, this is a skink, an Eastern Texas skink. It's a little lizard that we saw in the river there. Also bright daylight when I took it.
Nice.
And this, I just thought softened it up a little, or so I could see, actually get a better picture. He looks bigger than he was. He was only about 4 inches long. So, and this is a juvenile, and they lose their blue color on their tail as they get older.
Do they live in the water all the time?
Not sure. We did have to find out what it was, so we had to look it up. We had no idea.
Oh, okay.
My grandkids' mama said, "Don't touch it, don't touch it." So we're good.
Okay, this is Ron Browning. Okay, Ron, you want to say anything about this?
Yeah, I took this actually just a couple weeks ago from Channel Cat. This was over at on the Davenport side where we docked over there by the boat club.
Okay, okay. And this is your edit.
Yeah, I'm actually through the help of the club from the Zoom meetings and everything, I've been dabbling with Luminar 4, and this was done with this.
Okay. Before and after. Okay. Jackie,
Chicago.
Okay, this one I took several years ago, and obviously it's in Chicago. And we went out at dawn, and it's dark. I mean, it was dark. So, but it's darker than I wanted it to look. Plus, it looks like the buildings are falling in on the beam. So that wasn't going to work. So I wanted to lighten it up. And it looked like it was a little later in the day, I suppose, but it still was real early. And I straightened up the buildings, and I did it all in Lightroom, and played a little bit with, warmed it up slightly, but not a whole lot, and then put a vignette around it so that it really made the bean pop out, which is what I wanted to see. So
great example.
So you can see the buildings falling over, and even one in the upper left-hand corner of that building. What happens is when you go into Lightroom, and I used the guided in there and dropped 2 lines, one on each side, and it straightened it up, and it totally got rid of that one that's in the upper left-hand corner. But then I had to crop in tight. And again, that's because it straightened the buildings out, which means your picture isn't rectangular anymore. So I just cropped it in until it was comfortably inside the lines.
Wow. Well, what a great example. Kathy Wren, is this yours?
Yes, this is mine. It's at the Bear Sanctuary in northern Minnesota.
Okay, that's before.
I like to get up nice and close by him, just in the distance.
Okay. He looks like he's got an eye on Kathy.
Yeah, he's looking right at me.
Yep. Mr. Joe.
Okay, had this one in recently, but wanted to put it back to show this, and there's another one later. The process of what goes into editing the ballet work. A couple things to notice. This is, I believe, a full 200 on the 70 to 200, if I'm not mistaken. But from way in the back of the theater, and it can be a little hard to get from that distance. But notice also the lines on the stage. For the dancers, every stage they have, they put down a surface and then tape it in place. So you're often dealing with those little tape lines all the way through. For dancers, that's perfectly normal. More from an artistic standpoint, they kind of get to be intrusive. So if I'm doing a fine edit, I try to take out as much as I can of things like that. So this was the original, and this is the edited version where I clean up the stage, crop it in, of course. And I can get away with using a fairly substantial vignette. It takes out some of the blandness of this particular background, and it kind of highlights the dancer. So that's, if you notice, you don't see the stage lines in this crop and the cleanup. So that's what goes into it.
Lori again.
Yeah, this is another grandson. This little fella's name is Hudson. And we put up a little water thing in the backyard for the boys to play in. He and a couple of the younger boys. And I like this photo because the water in his face was super fun. And so this was a long shot. Then this one here, I cut it in close so that you could actually see the droplets and his expression.
Mhm. Yep, that's what editing is about. Back to Jackie.
Okay, again, I have another one that's dark. My camera seems to shoot a little darker than I'd like. So this one was actually a metered shot, but you can see it's darker than it seems like would be comfortable to view. So I did this one is kind of like the other one, a real basic kind of editing on it. I stayed in Lightroom. I didn't do anything more than just Lightroom, but it was too dark. And so if you are one like I am, where you're using the current version of Lightroom and you just have the Creative Cloud, so you're right up to date, try that auto setting. That's my first go-to. I hit auto and it did lighten it up from what the original was. But it did an overall lightening, but the bear still wasn't light enough for my taste. And so that's when I got into wanting the bear a little bit lighter, because I just wanted him to stand out. If you go back to the original, you'll see he has some really, or she, it was a she, had some really nice highlights on her. But it didn't get light enough when the rest of the picture got lighter. So I dropped some radial filters over the bear area. I put a couple down. I like to do a little bit at a time. And then I feel like I have more control if I put multiple ones down, doing a little at a time, or maybe only exposure in one and maybe texture in the other, where I mess with the texture slider, clarity, or so on. So I did a little bit of that in order to lighten him up in the shadows. And I had to pull back the highlights as I lifted the shadows. So I think I could have darkened those highlights down a little bit more. It got a little bit past the point. I think, that's what happens when you do something, then you need to come back and look at it, a short time later and see if you like the edit you did. And overall, what I did is when I lightened it, I didn't want it to look HDR-like. So sometimes if you pull up and pull down the highlights and pull up the shadows too far, it kind of has what I call that HDR look. So it doesn't look 100% natural. And I wanted to keep it looking a little more natural. That's why I used radial filters and adjustment brushes to bring the bear a little bit lighter, as opposed to the entire picture. I wanted to keep the shadows a little in there, and I wanted to keep the highlights in there without dulling the highlights and bringing up the shadows so it didn't look natural. So anyway, I hope that was understandable, but I also had to warm it up. And sometimes I think, and in this case, I find that was somewhat true, is when you do the auto, because it really bumps up some of the contrast that you have, the color of green kind of goes a little bit electric. And I went down and I pulled back on the green a little bit in the HSL column. I think it probably could be pulled back slightly farther because the grass really wasn't that electric green. But I want it to look fun and light when if I were to print it. So my next choice before I pull it back, the green back a little farther, is I'd probably run a test print on it and make sure that the green was looking good, or if it was too bright, that's when I'd go in and I'd pull it back a little bit so it wasn't quite so saturated. I don't like to get too oversaturated. If it doesn't look natural, then I've taken it a little far. And so that's always the criteria that I try to live by, and I think I could pull back on this one a little bit, but this is what I had.
And I agree with Jackie 100%. Using Lightroom, the auto setting is a great start. I would not have said that a year ago.
Well, and that's what I was just going to say too. I know we have some members that use Lightroom, but they haven't chosen to go with the Creative Cloud version. They're still using one of the older subscription, which is fine, but do know that auto is not great. It's not even good back before they went to the creative or the subscription version. So in those people's case, if you're used, I wouldn't bother with auto. You're gonna have to pull those sliders yourself and test a little here and a little there. But for everybody else that's using a more current version, auto's great. You might have to tweak it. Chances are great you're gonna tweak it, but
Right.
it's a good starting spot.
Good. Okay, here's an old picture. I probably took this in 2015. This is exactly what came out of the camera. It was in Utah, old abandoned barn. I took this 10mm wide. I just enjoyed all the texture and everything about it. And this is a 3-picture shot because this was my edit in color. This was my original, and this was my color edit. And I liked this, and it probably sat around for a year or two. And one day I was looking at this picture again because I was thinking of printing it. And I said to myself, you know, I'll tell you, maybe we got a black and white here. And I converted it to black and white. But not only did I convert it to black and white, but I brought out what you call selective color. And I brought out the yellows in here, and we've got a big print on our wall, and our kids have this picture on their wall too. And but once again, this is another prime example of the power of editing. And guess what? Maybe you look at this picture and say, well, Jay, I don't like the black and white as well like the other. That's fine, because it's all in the eyes of the photographer that shoots the image. Who submitted this?
This is Kathy Wren, and this
Oh,
is,
okay, Kathy, yeah.
this is Tanzania, 2018, I think. Saw this little one following his mother and watching his mother. He was having a hard time with patience waiting for her to do her hunting. And so I just like it with the tongue sticking out.
Mhm.
And again, this is Lightroom, just cropping it and bringing up some colors and so forth.
Okay, Dale.
All right, so this is a different fireworks one. This one was taken at the Kelowna fireworks on the Hennepin Canal. And this is an example of when they say, you know, shoot for the highlights, because obviously you can see if you know, the highlights of the fireworks, if you go any different would be blowing out, but you can certainly bring up the shadows more. And so, and like Jackie said, I do a lot of radial filters in mine also. So you can see how much you can bring up, which is available. I mean, just with, you know, by doing that. And it's a long shutter speed, so that way I got as much out of it as I could. But yeah, definitely you can bring a lot more out than you usually can. So
This is a great example, right?
that's all just in Lightroom.
Wow.
How long is shutter speed?
That one I think was actually 37 seconds, if I
It was
remember right.
37 seconds.
So the nice thing about the Kelowna fireworks, the problem you run into with most fireworks is they're so going off so quickly that you're just going to blow out the fireworks. The Kelowna fireworks are really slow. You know, they're going up, you know, a couple every, 30 minutes type thing. So this is probably 2 fireworks going up in those 30 seconds. I mean, this is probably 2 fireworks going up in 30 seconds. So it allows you to have the shutter speed open longer for when you have these dark scenes. So, and that's when I went. I've done the fireworks there before of the canal, but this time I decided I wanted it to be more about the canal and the action going on it and less about the fireworks. And so that was kind of what I went for in this scene. So I really wanted to bring out what you could see happening, you know, along the canal rather than just the fireworks.
Dale, where were you standing? On the
On this one, I'm actually from where there's a little park up there. I'm
Yeah.
just right on the other side of the road. There's a fence, there's the road and a fence. I'm the other side of the fence.
So it's not the highway.
I'm not actually on the highway. Yep, I'm on the other side of the fence, right up on the little, ground level there. So I have the year before, I actually went down and sat on the culvert there and got much lower with it. But this year the water was much higher and I couldn't sit on that culvert. So I actually just stayed right up on the, just off the side of the road. So there's a fence there to protect you, so you don't have to worry about the cars or anything.
Neat place to
Hey,
shoot.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, this is back in bear heaven. Judy got this critter. He came right up to us, and she was able to photograph it numerous times, getting closer and closer. We liked the fact that we could see both eyes and everything. And this was our edit, okay, which was much more impactful than this. And then if you notice on one thing, notice the water coming off the end of his nose there. We thought that was a little distracting, and we did take that off in this image, but we just love to get this kind of a reflection. We actually looked at the grasses on the side and decided just to leave them in there. But it's another good example of taking one image and totally turning it into something different. Ron Browning.
Okay, this was taken, actually the first year I actually had a camera in my hand. This was up to Niagara Falls, the bird sanctuary up there.
Okay, what is this bird? Do you know?
I did not write it down right off the top. I cannot tell you what it is.
Okay. Well, anyway, here's an edit.
I just love the colors on him.
And here was the edit. Okay. Okay, here's another one of Judy's shots. We really like this image because the bear was definitely, looks like he was definitely looking at his reflection. Image was a little soft. I had a little noise in it and everything, and we decided to work on this a little. So once again, this is going to be a 3-image show here. We sharpened and we cropped. And like Jackie said, sometimes you got to go back and look at an image again. And we did the next day. And we really decided the crop wasn't the right way to go. And we went back to the full image. And we definitely feel that this gives us the best example of what we liked about this bear. Mr. Pacheco. Are you there, Joe?
Oops, forgot about the muting. This goes back to about 2014, and of all my years of doing the ballet, this was Stravinsky's Rite of Spring, and it's probably still my favorite of all that they've ever done. And because of all the geometry and lighting and stark shapes and so on. But we go from this is from the balcony of the theater, and you go from the original wide view, which is way too much for a single dancer like that, and cropped it down, cleaned it up, brightened the face a little bit, and cleaned out some of the stage spots and so on. They're harder to see with this background, but it took some cleanup there, and that has become one of my favorite images. In fact, I think I have one of my business cards is of this image. But that's what you can do with, this is also at 6400 ISO. And I believe I ran this one through Topaz denoise for both the noise and the sharpening aspects of it. And it came out pretty well.
Joe, it's showing 1600. But anyway, yep. Tina,
Yes.
okay, you're up, kid.
What if I just say no comment?
Well, what is,
No, I'm kidding.
first, you gotta do.
I recently did a day trip to the Morton Arboretum. Was just a sculpture there. And I really just liked heaps of it. So I took several different shots of it.
Okay, I hope everybody's sitting down, because wait till you see the creativity in this shot.
Wow.
Tina, I asked you this many times, and now is not the time to tell the answer, but you always tell me you can't tell the answer. But my God, how did you do this?
Most of this was honestly just bringing out the colors there and cropping. A lot of, I don't drop this into like a background in Photoshop because I go through and I do the delicate brush work. It just helps me do it. And I almost took out the leaves there, like in the center, and left those black, but it was more interesting to leave them in. So I did.
Wow.
Wow, was right.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did a black and white version from a different angle too, but I don't know if I like it as well. It's a completely different photo, a different aesthetic, but this one I really like.
Wow. Okay, this is the last image. It's really not the theme tonight, but there's some interesting thing about it because it's going to show you what the newer cameras can do, and it's going to show you what the newer sensors can do. And believe me, the best camera you have is the only one you have. That takes the best shots. But this is going to be example I shot that it's really quite amazing. I hope you've already read this. This is a fossilized mammoth tusk. It's on display at Brooks Lodge. I was sitting there and I turned around and took this picture. Okay. I had no idea what my settings were. It was dark in here. Okay. And I turned around and I took this picture and I looked at it when I got home and I said, holy smokers, let's take a look at this. So I want you to see this. That was shot handheld at 1/8 of a second. Okay, for you to know me, I'm not too steady anymore. And to be able to shoot an image like this in 1/8 of a second is to me amazing. But drop down 2 degrees. This was shot at 25,600 ISO. And after I saw that, I saw the ISO and I said, holy smokers. But then when I looked at that, I had shot this at 1/8 of a second. This is what technology has changed in cameras. These sensors are so much better. And the cameras now that have built-in stabilization in the sensor, I mean, this could have never happened before with anything I shot. So let me show you something here now, what I did with this image. This is unprocessed. This is out of the camera. The best way to look at this is to compare two. Okay, there's the two image, unprocessed, and on the right is processed. But we really have to look at these at a much higher magnification. Look at the noise in here. And look how the noise is absolutely, for the most part, gone on the right. 25,600 ISO. A little sharper on the right, not drastically sharper, but I did two things with this image. I did nothing in Lightroom. Okay, I took the image into Topaz Denoise and cleaned the noise out. Then I ran it over to sharpen and did some sharpening. Is it a stellar image? No, it's not a stellar image. But this kind of image would be almost impossible without new technology in a camera and good software. And that's why I definitely wanted to show you this tonight. Okay, that's what we've got tonight as far as before and after. And I want to thank everybody that got involved in this. I think we'll be doing this more and more down the road, doing some of this, and maybe fine tune how we might be able to help people more with their editing through this. And as you looked at these pictures tonight and everything, believe me, if you have questions or that, get a hold of us. Mentors, we can, even if you get to a person that can't help you, we'll get you somebody else because, like I say, digital editing is, to me, can just absolutely, it can save a picture and it can improve a picture. And I've said this many times and I'll say it one more time. You give me your picture out of the camera that you think is perfect. And I think I myself and others can do a few minor tweaks and even make it better. But it's all up to you. Okay, that's it for sharing tonight. I hope you enjoyed that. The next thing is, let's open this up now to, you can turn your mics on and let's open this up to open comments. Anything you want to talk about is fine, but before we start, photography is something, there's always something to learn about. And I just learned something drastically from Scott Nagel. And I said, Nagel, I want you to share this with the club because I don't really know if everybody in the club really knows and understands this. So Scott, I'm going to turn it over to you to start this.
Okay, thanks, Jay. I'm gonna talk for just a couple minutes about, everybody, can you hear me?
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna talk about formatting SD cards. So I'm not actually an SD card expert. So I'll just tell you what I know. And so it'll probably be a short presentation, but there are other people in the club that are a little bit more literate on that can maybe fill in the details. So there are multiple reasons why you would format an SD card. The first one is that your camera manual tells you to do it. And the reason that they tell you that is that so that your camera and the SD card both have the same file system so they can talk to each other. So they're like speaking the same language to each other. The other reason that you would format an SD card is to clear all the pictures off of it when you're done with the shoot and to start over. Just a couple clicks and they're all gone. The third reason that you would do that is because you did it by accident. And this is actually a lot easier and a lot more common than people realize. One way that you might do this is that you're fumbling around in the menu of your camera and you're already a little bit frustrated because that's why you're in the menu in the first place, because you got a problem, and you accidentally click on the Format SD card tab, and then you have a little tiny moment of panic, and you try to punch the button to cancel that, and you punch the button that says Format, and then your pictures are all gone. The other way that you would do this commonly is if you're got several SD cards and you're downloading them and you think you're all done, and it might even be a couple days later and you realize, well, there's a day missing here, and I've already cleared all my SD cards. So in that case, it appears that you've lost all your pictures, when actually there's a pretty good chance that you have not. And the reason for that is that, let's see, Jay, can I share my screen?
Sure, you should be able to share.
Okay. Okay, when you're on the menu for formatting your card, this is usually what it comes up with. And that little box here for low level format is not checked. And when you do this, you are not actually deleting the pictures from your card. You're deleting the file system that helps your camera find the pictures. So after you've done that, the pictures are more than likely still there. If you click this button like that and then format the card, you're probably going to have to go to the FBI to get them back, because the software that you're going to buy can't do it. They may still be in there and garbled up, but this like pretty much writes over your whole card for you so that you can't use it. The reason, as far as I know, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, the only real good reason to do this low level format is if there are pictures on your card that you don't want anyone to have. Maybe you're selling the card or giving it away, or maybe you filmed yourself robbing a convenience store or something like that. You want the pictures to be destroyed. So if you do a low level format, you're kind of out of luck. You will need some extra software in order to get them back though. And the one recommended by SanDisk is this right here. It's actually like a SanDisk product called Rescue Pro. And you can, let's see. What I didn't share. Okay, am I still sharing?
Yeah, you
Yep.
got Rescue Pro up there.
Okay.
Don't get frustrated and push the wrong button.
Yeah, I know, I've been there. I don't see the end share button. Oh, Jake can cut me off. Anyway.
Yep.
This Rescue Pro is a SanDisk product. You can download it and run your pictures on your computer, and it will tell you whether or not they are recoverable. And once you've verified that they are recoverable, then you pay the $40 or $60 or whatever level, and then you can actually retrieve them from the card, and they'll give you new pictures. If you have a large card that's got like a lot of pictures, it can take a long time. It could take an hour or more for this program to find all your pictures. But if they're in there, it will get them back. You won't have the same file numbering format that you had in your original camera, but you'll still have the camera data. The EXIF data will still be in there. So good to know if that's something that, if you get in that pickle where you think you've lost them all, this is definitely worth a try. And now, Jay, can you like cut me off here?
Well, I'm trying to figure that one out here, because I just changed screen share. This will stop other screen sharing. Do you want to continue? Yes.
Okay, Scott, are you speaking from experience?
Oh yeah, I've got like tons of experience, and I'm not afraid to admit it.
Well, I can
But
tell.
I'm in kind of a secret society where there's like other people that we're not going to name.
I can tell you it works for video because Scott deleted all the video from Brooks Falls of the Bears.
there.
on his video cam. So he used that Rescue Pro and he got them all back.
Oh, you've done that already?
Yeah,
Wow. Okay.
cost him a little, but you know.
Yeah, see, I've never fully understood that low format there, and I can probably attribute to years of doing low formats and just walking out. So,
Okay, well, I've like kind of adapted my workflow to leave that low level format off. Because that way you can always go back and retrieve them until you've completely copied over the card with new pictures. Now, if there is a good reason to use the low level format, I'd like to know when it's necessary.
right.
Just for us Nikon users, and my camera doesn't have that kind of option thing that you do. So for any Nikon, it may be there, but I don't know about it. So that's an awesome feature for Canon, but Nikon, I do not believe has it, and neither does my Fuji.
Well, it could very well be that there's no low level format, in which case that's good. I mean, in that case, you don't have to worry quite so much about getting your pictures back. And the program, even though it's a SanDisk program, it will work with other brands of cards, and also with different kind of computer memory that we usually don't have to worry about.
It's good
So
information.
it's worth a try. It would be if you're ever in that pickle where you think you might have erased the card with pictures on it, you can download that program and run it, and then you'll know whether or not it's worth going any further with it.
I did that years ago, and I just thought, okay, I screwed it up. One
Yeah,
trip.
well, one way is it's like only pictures, but
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Only pictures.
Yeah.
You know, a while back when you would buy those compact flash cards that were, they would have that Rescue Pro with them.
Yes.
It came with them.
Yeah, it was a little paper with the
Yeah,
number code.
That
Yeah.
you could use. So.
I don't know if they still give it away or not.
I don't think they do. See, they got smart. They're charging for it now.
I think there might be one other option is you could, if you definitely don't want to lose your pictures, is to set your camera up so that it's on Wi-Fi and it's sending stuff up to the cloud as you're taking pictures.
Right.
So that you'll have that backup on the cloud.
Yeah.
Yes,
You can also
cameras give you that option.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you might not have Wi-Fi. You might not have internet.
Well, anyway, good. That's good, Scott. I know that I certainly learned something there when you said how you were able to bring some images back. Okay, hey, anything else we got here to talk about tonight? Come on, let's kick it out. We got some people that might be able to help or share an experience.
Laura asked earlier if where do you do selective color? Is that in Lightroom, or like Jay, you did that on your photo? Is that in Lightroom or Photoshop?
I think I did that. That's quite a few years back. I would almost guess that was done in Lightroom.
Yeah, you can do it in Lightroom.
And if it wasn't done in Lightroom, it was done in the early versions of Luminar. Right. Yeah.
I think you just use HSL and you take down the saturation or something, and or you use a brush and yeah, there's different ways you can do it.
Yeah, there's a number of different ways you can do it.
You might even check the preloaded presets that are on the side. I can't remember. It seems like there used to be one that was set up for selective color, but they may have over time taken that out.
Is that on our club site? Are you saying?
No, if you're in Lightroom and you
Oh,
go
okay.
to that menu while you're in the develop module, if you go to the left side, there's a panel that'll pop up on the left side, and one of the options in that panel is called presets. There used to be a preset in there that would do selective color. I'm not sure if it's still there or not.
Okay.
But you can check there and see.
The other place, Audrey, is if you YouTube it or look it up, there's a million different sources out there that explain it specific to the software you're going to use. It really isn't that difficult.
Okay. Good to know. Thanks.
Yeah.
I had a question for maybe everybody, but when you were talking about that selective coloring, and I was thinking about how many of you guys use a pen versus using the mouse to take and do your pictures with and stuff. I've been thinking about getting one of them Wacom tablets or something, but then somebody else said that there's some cheaper ones there would do just as good, but that might not have as many functions.
I've never used one. Does anybody else use one?
I use one.
I have a
have a
long time
Wacom.
ago.
Always wondered if that'd be easier.
My Wacom is the small one. I know people will get the medium size or large, but to me, the small one, you don't have to move your hand as far. And it's pretty inexpensive, the one I have. Mine's older, but yeah, I like it okay. I do have the function buttons programmed. I don't use very many of them. I use like a brush size and a zoom capability and that kind of stuff. Those I do use, but a lot of the other ones I don't use. I think I can set 6, 10 different things. But I do like that you can get small and you can do pressure sensitivity stuff. So you can, kind of like writing. So if you're coloring an area, the harder you color, the bigger the spread. You can set it up to do that kind of thing. But I also just use the mouse on my computer pad. That works great too. So I have a laptop, not a big mouse, but I think if you're using one of the other not the mouse pad, but the actual mouse, I think you would probably like the ability to use the pen on a Wacom tablet because you have so much more intricate to control.
I have one and used it twice and put it back in the box. And I use my mouse all the time. In fact, it's still in my closet. I think the warranty's out of it, but it's only been used like twice.
Larry, we're going to have at the picnic, we're going to have everybody with some extra computer equipment or Eddie, you can bring it and maybe you can sell it.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Brian might buy it.
Yeah, I just do that. I'm kind of looking around.
Yeah.
I think mine was like $100, but it is old.
The other question that I had was, when you guys were redoing your pictures and zooming in, did you have any thoughts on like using the 2x converter and stuff? Because I was watching a guy on a YouTube and he said that by the time you 2x your lens to take and get in closer, it would be just as good to take the picture with the regular lens and then just crop it in, and you would probably, he thinks you have a better picture just using the regular lens and not using a 2x converter.
That's a good question.
Yeah. I think different situations get different results, but I'll let you answer, Scott. And then.
In my experience, that was true. Like in the previous generation of teleconverters, it was like absolutely true. But as far as Canon is concerned, it is no longer accurate. If you've got the version 3 of the 1.4 or the 2x, you will not see any loss in image quality whatsoever.
The other thing a lot of those guys say out there when they do the YouTubes is that it's not always the converter, it's the photographer. You gotta hold it steady. You gotta have, support, that you can really get good images with those.
The thing there, and Sony has a 1.4 and a 2.0 extender, and they're excellent. But like Paula says, when you're using a 2.0 on a 500 lens, you're shooting 1,000 millimeters. And if you breathe on that lens, your focus is going to be a little soft. And people say, oh, that's because it's a 2.0 extender. No, it's because you just didn't, take your picture with off-camera clicker. The other thing about extenders and long lens shooting, the longer lens that you have, you are multiplying the particulate matter between you and the subject even more, because you are magnifying all of that stuff, all that aerosol or particles in the air, and that will make your photo even look noisier.
I think that's 100% right too. It's like I have the version 3 of the 2X converter that I have. I think it works great. I just came back from Alaska, and before I left, I tried out the lenses that I was going to use in my backyard here in Kansas. And it was a hot day. It wasn't as hot as today, and it wasn't super humid, but all my pictures were super soft.
Right.
I get up to Alaska with the same lens, and I was on a tripod. I was using a timer to release it. I was doing everything right as far as I could tell, and they were all soft. And I was so upset because I thought, this lens is not going to do well. And I thought, but it did before. So there's something going on. I think it's that, what do they call it? Refraction of light or something from the heat.
Yeah.
And sure enough, I got up to Alaska. It was cooler. It was drier. The pictures are tack sharp.
Right.
Same exact lens I was struggling with here in Kansas. So
Welcome to the Midwest heat.
yes, I think that those people, and I do think that the older versions of teleconverters maybe weren't as good, and maybe they had a bad experience and they haven't tried a new one since then. So they've still got a bad taste in their mouth. But I think teleconverters work great.
Yep.
They don't fit on all lenses, by the way. So make sure that your lens that you want to put it on is compatible with a teleconverter, because they don't all accept them.
Do they still reduce the down to 2 stops of light for like a 2X?
Yep.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
One stop for 1.4.
Yeah, and they'll tell you what the difference. The teleconverter usually tells you how many stops it's going to change, so you'll know, because they're different. I think from 1.4 to 2, or a different amount of light gets stopped down. But
Well, correlating that extender along with the thing that Jay said about the sensors being so much better with noise, you take that extender plus a newer sensor, plus the newer editing programs that you have, and I don't worry about 2 extra stops.
Plus the stabilization you get in the newer cameras
Right.
and lenses. Get all kinds of benefits.
Yep. Anything else tonight? Come on. This is fun. We all learn from this. We all learn from this.
I've got a question about editing video. Is there a way to do it and what software do you need to do editing the video? I guess this would be probably directed to Scott.
Well, that depends on how much editing you want to do. You can do, first of all, you can usually do some like trimming right in the camera. If you started your video before the action starts and you got the ends that you want to trim off, you can probably do that right in your camera. If you want to like put clips together or take something out of the middle of your clip, you can do that in Lightroom if you've already got Lightroom. You can also do it in Photoshop, but doing it in Photoshop is clunkier than using a real video editing program. If you got to be as smart as Stan to figure out how to edit it in Photoshop.
Well, see, and that's a problem. I don't have Lightroom or Photoshop either. I've got Affinity, which is similar to Photoshop. But I was just wondering if there's a way that you can, a different program out there than Photoshop or Lightroom that, you can pick up just to do that. Because I'm trying to sharpen up. Is there a way you can sharpen stuff up in it?
Well, there is. You can sharpen stuff up in different programs. And every computer format, like Apple or your Microsoft stuff, they've usually all got some kind of free video editing program that's like pretty basic. There's probably one on your computer right now that you don't know about.
Well, the one I use it, to trim it and everything and put them all together, I've used that one, but that doesn't have anything else that I can actually, go farther with in it.
If you want to sharpen it up, you're going to have to get some higher end stuff.
Okay.
That's
kind of what.
Premiere Elements is
Yeah,
only about $100, and that does a really good job.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to get into the video and everything. I'm just wondering if it's well worth it or not.
The Premiere Elements, that'll do about 95% of what the top end stuff will do.
Okay. Thank you.
Hey, Scott, while we're talking about video, is there any, they always say that the microphones on these cameras are not very good. And so do you use any type of mic, shotgun mic or something like that if you're doing video?
Yeah, you almost always want something other than what's on your camera. Although there's sometimes when you just can't use anything else, and sometimes and that's good enough. If you don't really want a real high quality like speaking or something, if all you're picking up is background noise, that'll work. Like if you're outside, you can buy a little muff that you can stick over the hole where that microphone is. It'll like block out some of the wind noise. It's like one of these like.
What do they call that? A dead cat or something like that?
Yeah.
That cracks me up.
I wasn't going to say that, but yeah, it's a big fluffy thing that's covers the mic. You can get one of those that goes over the front of your camera.
Or you can get a dead cat and put it on there.
Oh.
That's why I wasn't going to say that, Paula.
Sorry.
Oh.
Yeah, they're good for something.
Oh.
Hey.
But you'll get better sound if you've got any kind of external mic, and depending on what you're gonna record, you might want like a lavalier mic or something like that.
The past year I've been doing video for a band, a group, and we've actually set up microphones and everything. We'll videotape and have all the audio going in, and then we put it together and post so that make it better quality sound.
Yeah. Oh yeah. If you're gonna get something else, if you're gonna get like since you asked, if you're gonna get like a remote recorder of some kind, they've Zoom, not the program that we're using, but there's a manufacturer, Zoom, that makes like video recorders. They've got a thing now called 32-bit floating point audio, and when you record with that, you don't have to adjust any of the gain on the audio. It will record everything from an explosion to you whispering without making any adjustment. And it's only about that big, about $150. It's like tiny, about like that. So if you're gonna, talk to me later, Brian, but I'll give you all the details on that, but you're gonna have to edit it once you've taken it out of your recorder. Once you get it into your timeline, you're gonna have to edit it because you probably won't be able to hear it unless you jack the gain up a whole bunch. But once you get it, it doesn't matter what you've recorded. It's not gonna be distorted on either end.
Sounds kind of like what you do with RAW, shooting in RAW. And
It's exactly like RAW, right? You can like set rather than setting the level when you record it and it comes out at that level, it records everything and then you can set the levels afterward. The main, if you're like recording anything, but in particular somebody talking, the main thing is to get your mic as close to the optimum distance as you can, like a foot away from their face. That's.
Yeah.
So Scott, did you get your microphone a foot away from those bears?
No, I did not. I wish I had. They were surprisingly noisy.
Oh, okay.
There was a lot of growling and grunting going on.
He made them wear lavalier mics.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, put a lob on them. They won't mind.
I think there was a place out in Wyoming or something, a place called Bear Country. I don't know if anybody's ever been to that park where you actually can drive through and they take all the bears that are causing any problems and they put them in that park or something. But there was this one area what was fenced in and down in this pit, and they had a whole all of the cubs in this pit, and it had it all set up kind of like a zoo like. But in the middle of the pit, there was a couple of trees, no leaves on them or nothing, just branches coming out. And there was about 7 cubs just all the way up the tree. And I turned over to my wife, I took a picture of it. And I said, show people that picture. And I said, you see what that is? I said, that's a bare tree.
Oh.
Hey,
Oh.
That's pretty bad.
Oh, no.
You haven't quit your day job yet, have you?
Still got that picture. I wish I would have done that in RAW, but that was 20 some years ago.
Yeah, well, your comment was pretty raw.
actually, on this trip to Alaska, I shot quite a bit of video, and I really learned how that really enhances the experience. And I'm sure down the road we'll be showing and sharing a lot of this with the club because we had some pretty neat experiences. But anyway, anything else tonight?
Yeah, I want to know what's flapping behind Stan's head there.
That's a
I've been wondering.
baby hummingbird.
Bird.
Is that what it is?
Oh, I knew it
Yeah.
was a bird, but I didn't know what kind. Oh, wow.
The baby ruby hummingbird.
Wow.
That's the day before it took off.
Wow.
Exercising its wings, certainly.
Yep.
Well, Stan already promised to share some of his hummingbird project with us, so we'll be looking forward to that. So anyway, really pay attention. You'll be getting an email out on the picnic. I certainly hope you can join us, but we definitely are running a little short in time and we need to know how many people are coming and all that so we can shore up details. So with that, I'm going to sign off tonight. Hopefully we're all going to be getting together and seeing each other again because boy, it's been a long time.
Hey, Jamie, before we leave, I just wanted to mention one thing. Even though we're getting back over to the library, I think this tool of using Zoom would be still a great tool to use for teaching. So like if we get any more Lightroom classes or Photoshop classes and stuff, I think they could still be done on Zoom, and I think a lot of people would enjoy that, and you could also tape it too.
You're right on. Zoom is going to be part of our club. And we'll now definitely be looking ways to do it. We can address specific things there's just a lot of uses. I've already renewed our subscription for another year. So yeah, definitely good observation. And we've already committed to it. So anyway. Okay, well, good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. It was a great meeting.
Aye.
Thank you.
Everybody
Aye.
later.
Thank you.
Good job, Jay.
Yep,
Yep, it's great. Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.
Jackie.
yep.